Hey, what's going on? This is Tony Taylor. Welcome to Leaders Lead Podcast. I'm super excited with this podcast. What we're doing is we're sitting down and we're talking to some amazing leaders across the country. We're learning cool things about them. We're learning where did they get their leadership style from? How did they adapt that leadership style? What are they changing? What are some things that they need to work on? I want you to tune in to listen to Leaders Lead Podcast. Every single week, we're going to have new content for you. We're streaming on all the major platforms, so look out for Leaders Lead Podcast. Hey, what's going on? Hey, I think we are live. How is everybody doing? This is our third episode, Hiram.
Hey, that's right, man. Third time's a charm, man. What better way to get on the podcast with somebody I've been admiring for the past years during the pandemic, Michael Sugrue. And Mike,
you said admiring, man. Sorry to cut you off, but dude,
man, I gotta admire, man.
For Hiram to admire somebody, man. Hey, this is gonna be good. Go ahead, brother.
Well, I haven't developed the man crush yet, but I appreciate it. This guy pretty much is first off, he's a United States Air Force veteran, and he's a retired sergeant in the police force. He's a first responder, and he specializes in military health and advocacy. So what's happening in the law enforcement, Mike has been pretty much one of the pioneers that's been involved in mental health as far as law enforcement. As you notice lately, there's been a lot of cancel culture when it comes to law enforcement, that we're not very sensitive to mental health. We don't have any specialists. And this is where Mike comes in. And Mike has an expertise on trauma healing, PTSD recovery, dealing with the military community, and specializes in suicide prevention. And because of his work experience and his candor, he's been able to utilize that in different platforms, especially being a captain in the United States Air Force and as security officers and security forces, and also has done a little bit of teaching. So, Mike, welcome to the show.
Professor Mike.
You have the floor, Mike.
Hey, welcome, brother. Welcome, man. So, what are you up to today, man?
It's been a good day. Honestly, I went to the gym earlier, and I just had a nice business meeting out, a little lunch, and now I'm back here chatting it up with you guys. So, it's been a good day.
I love it, man. We got the chat room on fire already, man. Everybody happy that you're here. Hey, what's up, Nina? So, man, we were looking at your bio, and we did a deep dive, especially my brother Hiram, man. That's where he go, man. He go deep.
Yes, I do. But it's important. See, what's happening is that people don't understand as well. We get deep. People want to know what kind of homework we do, and how is it that we reach up to people like Mike, Professor Mike. I'm going to call him right now because he's done. That's his call sign. Professor Mike is going to be out there on the mic. So we want to be able to leverage individuals that have, that type of caliber, but also, you're tied in with Jennifer Tracy and with Shauna Springer, who I've known very well. So that in itself tells me a lot about what the collaboration is for everybody. So go ahead, Mike. I didn't want to go on a tangent, but I just wanted to break it off. Professor Mike, break the floor.
Well, what do you want to know? Ask me anything.
So
go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, man. So with this being a leadership podcast, a lot of people think that when we have our guests come on, that all we're going to talk about is leadership. I'm going to ask you, okay, what's your favorite leadership trait, right? That's not necessarily the case. I believe that leaders first have to lead themselves. And I believe in leadership in adversity. I don't believe that there can be no leader without adversity. Can you tell us maybe the first type of adversity that you experienced? It could be before or after a leader, or you could say, you know what, dude, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You don't have to go through adversity in order to be a strong leader. So what do you think about that?
Well, I agree with you 100% on the adversity part. And a little bit later on, I'll probably mention a specific incident that happened when I was on the police force. But, I want to take leadership all the way back to when I started in the Air Force. And, I went through the ROTC program. I went through Army Officer Basic and Air Force Officer Basic. And like most butter bars coming out of the program, you're walking up tall and you're thinking, man, like I'm a leader, right? I got bars on my shoulder and that means everything. And man, to this day, I remember my first real assignment. So when I first started, I was working for a recruiting squadron in South Carolina. And that was kind of just like a little part-time gig. When I got to FE Warren in Wyoming, which was my security forces assignment, I remember the commander, it was a female missileer. She was a lieutenant colonel. She sat me down in her office first thing with this tech sergeant that was sitting next to me. And he was my flight sergeant. And she looked at me real stern. She said, look, Lieutenant, you know what? You're brand new to the Air Force. You're just getting here. And I know you're eager to learn. You're eager to lead. And you look motivated and pumped up. But he's like, do you see that man sitting next to you? So I look over at him. And he's like, yeah, this guy right here, he's been doing this job for almost 20 years. And she goes, I don't know where you were 20 years ago, but this man right here was protecting our country, guarding nuclear weapons in Nebraska and Wyoming. And she said, you need to listen to this man. He's going to take you under his wing, and he's going to teach you the right way to lead. And I got to tell you, thank God she did that, because that just turned my whole world around. They didn't talk about this in the officer training program. They didn't talk about this when I went to the basic training. This is real life. And this is about respect. It's about mutual respect. And, rank, it really doesn't matter. You can be a leader at any level. You could be a private, you could be an airman first class, or you could be a 4-star general. But you can lead at any and all levels. And that's where I learned my first leadership lesson. And my sergeant was an amazing man. He was an amazing leader. And I learned a lot from him. I really did. And to be honest with you, I may have been in charge of that flight, but that man was running the flight. That's the truth right there. He was running that flight.
Oh, I love that, brother. I love that.
So, Mike, you going through these changes, unpack this for us. So you're sitting down there and you're getting cross-examined and they're getting baptized the way we normally talk about. So your first initial, 10 seconds when she's unpacking this to you and putting it out there, what's going through your mind? The first 10 seconds.
Honestly, I was like, holy shit, what I get myself into? That was like the initial gut reaction. But then I thought about it. I'm like, hold up. This woman is lieutenant colonel. She's in charge of an entire squadron. I'd heard great things about her. I heard great things about her leadership capabilities. She was very well known in the circles. And I heard about this prior to going to that assignment. And so I looked at this as an opportunity. It was time to just shut up, sit back and learn. And so, went from that initial shock, almost who do you think you are talking to me like that? What have you done? And then I had to check myself and realize, hey, buddy, I know you went to college and you went to some, basic training, but that's it. That's it. You haven't lived a real life yet. You still got a lot to learn, young buck. So it was a good lesson to learn.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I was thinking, I remember when we would have those occurrences when we would get our new officer that comes in and everybody would be nervous. You can tell the senior was nervous and they're like, man, how am I going to do this? And I would be with my little friggin' lance corporals in the back and just be like, man, they should do it like prison. As soon as they come in, they should smack them. But of course that never happened, man. But I love the way that you put that you just shut up. You just shut up and you listen. My biggest thing is leaders will sometimes lend their lips when they should be lending their ears, right? I love that saying. And it sounds like you apply that. Is that something that you carry throughout your career in the military?
Absolutely. I mean, I carried that all the way through. I mean, every time I went to a new assignment and I had a new senior, NCO, a senior sergeant, it's like, I learned that lesson early on, so I carried that with me the entire time. And I looked at my senior NCOs as real mentors. I mean, we had commanders, but my relationship with my senior NCOs, which was always much closer and much stronger than with the commander, because I saw my senior NCOs every single day, and we were out there doing the mission. The commander, you saw him at commander's call. You may see him occasionally if they come out to the field, but it was a rare occurrence. Maybe you got some award, maybe you got some medal, but it's that teamwork is what it takes. And your subordinates, they got to see that officer and those senior NCOs are on board together. And that's how you get people to follow you. That's how you lead. You lead together from the front.
So, Mike, let me ask you a question. During your challenges, right, in the Air Force, and you were in security forces, when was it the defining moment when people really value your respect and your character, not by your words but by your deeds? Can you take us to a moment in time when you're going through your first early career in the Air Force? People make fun of the Air Force, but let me tell you something. I don't make fun of. We have like
he's
cousins.
Lying. He's saying that. He said that.
I don't want to say. We don't want to say sheriff.
Hey, hold on, sorry, man. I know you're asking a question, but Hiram, be honest.
What?
Be honest.
What?
You've never made a joke about the Air Force ever.
I've always made a joke, but he's exception, bro.
All right, go ahead.
But he's exception.
People make fun of the Air Force, but
no, but seriously,
sorry, man.
I mean.
Hey, Tony, haters are going to hate. That's all I'm going to say. I'll just leave it at that. Haters are going to hate, okay?
Yeah, we both. I'll be honest. Okay. We both hate it. We both hate it. I worked with Air Force, and oh my God, they're amazing.
I'm going to tell you guys real quick. When I was in Saudi Arabia,
right,
and I was in those air-conditioned rooms with the cable TV.
Oh,
I had the VHS with the whatever movies I wanted from the movie store, and you guys were out there in the tents, all covered in dust. Hey, man.
Oh, yeah.
I'll never forget when we had the Air Force guys that came in and they were getting like, I'm not bullshitting. They were getting more like hazard pay for living in the barracks that we stayed in. And I couldn't believe it. The guy actually showed me the paper. He was like, yeah, they're giving us extra money because we have to live in this shithole with you Marines.
Oh, no. True story. I went to Raven School at Fort Dix in New Jersey. And that's a true story. So we have Air Force instructors there. And they're getting substandard housing allowance to live in the same housing as the Army guys. Can you believe that?
Wow. Substandard. So it's like they got y'all in a third world country or something, but it's a Marine Corps base. All right.
So Mike, seriously, you're an officer. You're in the United States Air Force, right? You're going to be in security. Now you're dealing with not only getting checked right off the bat, but now you're establishing yourself as Mike. The officer and the law enforcement. When was there what was your challenges? When was the defining moment when people started raising an eyebrow like, he ain't no joke? Let me ask you that.
Well, I got to tell you, for what a lot of people know is security forces, as far as the Air Force goes, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. And when I say that, I mean like physical fitness, our uniforms, the way we carry ourselves. We're distinguished by a beret, and there's a lot of pride that goes into being security forces. And so even from day one as a brand new second lieutenant, I always made an example in everything I did. I mean, I led from the front in my appearance, in the way I carried myself, in my work ethic. I mean, I worked all day, every day. I was out there in the field as much as possible. I was never in the office. I was never behind the scenes. I was out there with my troops. And they saw that. They saw that, I wanted to have fun. I want to be out there with them, learning the things. I actually, it's kind of a tangent, but I got in trouble because I loved working LE so much on base. I was running LiDAR and radar as a butter bar, pulling people over left and right, doing TV calls. I got pulled in the office because I gave some major, a speeding ticket, and my commander's like, "What the F are you doing, man? You can't be out there giving tickets." And so, man, I've always been like a hands-on, in the field kind of guy. And honestly, that's why I got out of the Air Force eventually, because I knew as I got promoted, it's going to be less hands-on, and more in the back office. And I'm trying to be out there in the field with the people in the mix doing the work.
So, a lot of people have that misconception, right? Because we're both enlisted, right? And for us, we always learn that, hey, we have to mentor the officers and everything else. But there's very few between officers that really can kick some ass and leave us in awe. So you're pretty much in that top 1% on that. And that's why we want to ask those questions to, dispel that kind of legend or that rumor or whatever it is that, hey, enlisteds are really run run the show, but there's a top 1% or top 1 to 5% of officers that play no joke. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And, there's what I consider to be one of my greatest achievements in the Air Force. And I mentioned it earlier, but was becoming a Raven, a Phoenix Raven, Air Force Raven. A lot of people don't know about this, but it's the subset within the security forces world. And it's intense training. It's focused on, when aircraft go to hostile environments, there's no embedded security or force protection. And you're responsible for the air crew, the aircraft, doing foreign airfield assessments. It's a very high-risk job, but it also is very physically intense. Mm-hmm. And I remember I trained up for this. This was my dream, and I went as a captain.
Wow.
And I went with some airmen from Travis Air Force Base, and we worked out together every single day for hours a day. And my whole goal was, to blow them away, not in the class, but in the PT. And so I really focused on my physical fitness because I wanted to lead from the front. I wanted to show up and show these guys I was going to work as hard as them, if not harder. That's true leadership. And I remember when I got to this course, and there's a part in it where we actually have to fight like 6 different dudes in red man suits, and you literally get the shit kicked out of you. And I got 2 cracked ribs.
What's the name of this course?
Phoenix Raven, Air Force Ravens.
Oh yeah, that's like a deep op training right there for people don't understand that. Am I correct, Mike?
I mean, I gotta tell you, to this day, it is the most badass thing I've done. And the camaraderie and the respect once you make this and how hardcore these people. I went with one of these airmen, and during the fighting, this guy was super fit. His whole bicep detached. It literally came off. I saw a butter bar female lieutenant get knocked cold out, and she left the course. Now, this airman, though, he came back 6 months later and did the course again and finished it because he had a heart. And that's what this is about. I mean, I don't weigh a lot, but I lost almost 25 pounds during that course. I literally looked horrible because I wasn't eating. It was straight PT. But to this day, man, I can't tell you how proud I was to be there with all those airmen. And all those instructors, all the badass of the badass, they were enlisted. My instructors were enlisted. And you know what happens when that captain comes
in beating you, huh?
Oh, come on. You know it, man. You know it. And you know what? I deserve it. So I had to take it. And thank God I made it. But yeah, you better believe it. They start salivating, seeing that captain come in the room. They're like, oh, yeah.
Let's be.
Well, I look at it this way is during that time of your enlistment, right, and you're providing security forces, did you ever come a time where you question yourself when somebody they kind of initially, you always get challenged, you always get called out. But there's got to be a defining moment that everyone remembers in their lives when they're challenged. And it makes you second guess because you never thought about being challenged a certain way. Was there a scenario during that time?
I can't remember one specifically as you're describing it, but I can remember when it was an element leader on one of my flights, and he was a sergeant, staff sergeant, and he decided that he was going to mouth off in front of some younger airmen in front of me. It was when I went out to the weapons storage area, and this is the area where we store the actual nuclear weapons, the warheads, not the ones in the ground that launch out, but these are the like replacement warheads and the other nukes on base. And so when he did that, I literally wanted to lose my shit. I mean, I could just feel my blood pressure. I just literally wanted to attack this guy, and I had to check myself. And I just said, Sergeant, let's go talk over here. And I remember I took him aside, and we had a real man-to-man conversation. And I let him know that was not going to be tolerated, especially in front of other airmen. And I let him know what he's supposed to be doing, what his leadership responsibilities are, and to remind him what he signed up for. And that was a tough moment. But I got to tell you, after we had that talk, no problems. We had a mutual respect there, and we pressed on. I didn't have another single issue from that man ever again. And he worked his ass off for me. So I give him credit.
Man, that's good stuff. You got Gunny Wolf in the room. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Gunny Wolf. Hiram's laughing right now, but man, talking about a legend. This guy's a legend. I've looked at some of his cartoons and some of the darkest places in my life. I think it's Marine Times. I used to go to the PX all the time, and see his cartoons and be like, yeah, that's exactly what we're going through right now. So props to Gunny Wolf. We got a question from Angela Vasquez, one of my favorite humans. What is your advice for a new soldier? My son-in-law is joining the Army. What would be helpful for me to know? Thank you. That's an amazing question. Who want to take that one? Let's give it to Michael.
Yeah, Professor Mike, it's your turn. You're on the mic.
Well, the first thing is, man, you got to be proud of your son. I'm going to tell you right now, because it takes a real special person to volunteer to defend this country and to defend our freedom. So first of all, I want to give your son kudos for simply signing up and raising his hand. And the second thing I want to tell you is that I know you're going to be worried as a parent. You're going to be wondering, where is this young man going to end up? Is he going to be in Iraq or Afghanistan or some foreign country? But I'm going to tell you right now that our services, Army included, and I've been through Army Officer Basic, they're going to train your son to the level where he's going to be able to take care of business and take care of himself. And so you got to have faith, not only in the Army and not only in your son, but I'm also going to tell you that when you see your son after boot camp and when you see him after his advanced training, you're not going to recognize that young man. You're going to see a whole new person, a person that you just can't imagine. Your heart is going to be just exploding with pride. And I'm going to tell you also, your son, he's going to look back at your relationship and he's going to appreciate all that you've done for him that much more.
Ooh, so you make me want to join, brother.
Yeah, well, hey, I do it. So I got another question for you, Mike. Now let's talk about the heart of the matter. As a Leo, and I was a reserve deputy for 10 years in law enforcement in Los Angeles County. Let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about that particular skill set, right? What made you want to pivot into that specific skill set? What caused you to draw your attention? How is it that you've been able to understand and closely master and educate and mentor people like Tony and myself from a law enforcement perspective, especially today, where the last 2 years we've been getting cancel culture for law enforcement, and there's a lot of things. Can you unpack that for us and shed some light?
Absolutely. It was when I was a brand new sergeant. This is back in 2012. I was involved in a fatal incident. It was a shooting where a man with a large butcher knife was trying to kill a couple. And then he tried to kill myself and my officers. And, the short story is I had to take a life to save lives. And the thing is that, we hear about this and we talk about it and we train for it. But until you've actually taken someone's life, and especially when you've taken someone's life literally 3 feet from you and you see it actually happening, there's things that happen to a human that you just can't explain. And, the first thing that happened was that was the first real time where I didn't feel invincible anymore. My entire military career and most of my law enforcement career, and I'd been involved in a lot of high-risk situations, even being undercover on a state drug task force for 2 years and doing high-risk entries almost every single day. But for whatever reason, this incident is the closest I came to being killed. And it was right in my face. And I know at that time I had a young 2-year-old daughter. And all I could think about after that incident is, what is my daughter going to do when I'm no longer here? Who's going to raise her? Who's going to take care of her? And so my life started a downward spiral in a big, big way. I got sued federally immediately. My marriage eventually started falling apart and I lost it. I got diagnosed with cancer. My stepfather, my hero, a retired police lieutenant, died suddenly of lung cancer at 58. I mean, I was losing everything. I started putting myself in dangerous situations at work on purpose, hoping I got killed in the line of duty because I didn't want to be here anymore. Yeah. And what it took was my best friend, a Vietnam veteran, military police, a 35-year reserve officer, my partner at my department. He tried to kill himself when I was on duty. He slipped both wrists, stabbed himself in the torso, OD'd on multiple medications. And luckily I got to him right before they rushed him in emergency surgery. And I didn't think he was going to make it, but thank God he did. But he's the one who saved my life, because after 4 years of suffering in silence and almost losing everything is when I got the strength and the courage finally to raise my hand and ask for help. That was the defining pivotal moment, which set me on the path I'm on today.
So you knowing that, right? That's your why and how you do it. And then we've met on LinkedIn. People really don't understand the severity of PTSD and mental checkout, and it doesn't have to be combat related, because in the law enforcement there's domestic issues that put you in the line of fire. That is split-second decision. It's instinctive. Being instinct and making sure that, hey, it's your life or mine. It's easy to quarterback from the sidelines until you're in the heat of the battle. I've seen many of those scenarios. Now, I'm not passing judgment. Again, as a reserve law enforcement officer, long time ago, for 10 years, I've witnessed stuff. But as a certified, post-certified law enforcement officer, and you're going out there making the calls, and you're with a partner, and then you have to size the scenario up. You're not knowing what to expect. How do you deal with the past judgment when people look at you as a law enforcement officer?
You mentioned like domestic situations, right? But people don't realize we literally, like, we go to sudden deaths, we go to fatal car accidents, we go to child deaths, we go to drownings. I mean, we see the worst of the worst day in and day out. We're literally exposed to hundreds and hundreds of traumatic incidents every single day. And you want to talk about combat, our soldiers, when they're in combat, they're in a defined area for a defined period of time. Our law enforcement officers are in combat every single day for their entire shift. And now with the anti-police climate, they're in combat even off duty. That's the reality of it. But what people need to realize is that we're human. We're not superheroes. We're not invincible. But we are the last resort. We are the ones who call when you call 911. We are the ones that have to go into that active shooter situation without hesitation, without backup, and we have to neutralize the threat. And let me ask, who else is going to do that? Nobody's going to do it.
They're not.
If you haven't been there, you know what? My first thing is to say, you know what? You have no clue. You can't judge us. But what I want to do is I want to educate people. I want to educate the public on the things that we see, the things that we deal with, and the decisions that we have to make in a split second with the knowledge that we have at the time. And these are life or death decisions almost every day.
Do you think that there's more training that needs to be had as far as police interactions with civilians?
Absolutely. It goes both ways. It goes both ways 100%. The police need to understand their communities better. And the police need to be more patient and take more time when they can to educate the public, to explain things that we're doing, to not be in such a hurry to jump from call to call to call, but take the time with people. And I'm talking about when it's safe, when things have calmed down or you've gained control of the situation. Explain to somebody, hey, I'm sorry about that, but the reason why I had to take you down on the ground, place you in handcuffs, is because of X, Y, and Z, whatever the case may be. And on the flip side, like I said, our law enforcement officers.
Oh man,
did he freeze out?
We froze up.
We got him at a good spot too, man. Look at that smile.
So look, let's hopefully we could get Mike. And here's the thing that I learned, that
he'll come back.
He'll come back, but at the same time, we'll just keep the show going so people can understand. And it's a valuable point that Mike has brought out. And he looked like we lost him for a little bit. So we'll stay. So for the audience, you're listening firsthand from a law enforcement perspective, a veteran, but a law enforcement perspective of how they view things and how they make decisions and how they're able to, unpack their thoughts and been able to more or less deal with the conflict of crisis. I mean, Tony, we've seen stuff, and if you're on a call all day, I mean, I remember when I was a reserve deputy about 15 years ago, and my first call was a stolen vehicle. The guy, my FTO was saying, "Let's go," and we're just driving and chasing the vehicle, and I don't even know what's going on, but I'm a reserve deputy. Says all bets are off. So
you don't know what's going on, but you're chasing something. It sounds like, and that kind of goes with my question that I asked Michael, like as far as the training, because I think like I'm with you, man. I hate the cancel culture. I think that is freaking disgusting, right? I think that is disgusting. But there has to be some kind of accountability. And that's the conversation that I have with so many of my friends like you is how do we keep people in law enforcement accountable? How do we keep, people in general accountable?
So Tony, well, I'll pick up send Mike the link again because I think he's locked out again. So for the people that don't understand that, friendship farming through social media is very important, and then for us to understand from everybody else that we need to communicate and understand the personality that's dealing with the profession. And what I'm saying that is, don't look at the person just because he's wearing a badge. Look at the person that can actually do something that can bring some value. People don't understand that there's all types of forms of PTSD. Combat PTSD is one thing. First responder PTSD is another thing. People don't understand that everybody suffers a level of trauma that causes you to check out. And when I say that is more or less, I'm still going. We're trying to get him back in there. So I'm sorry, there's technical difficulties. So you got him back there, Tony? He's in backstage.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. So to Mike's point, it's a very evident that he's speaking from the heart and he's speaking reality, right? Can we get him back in?
There we go. We got you, brother.
Professor Mike's back again. All right, no problem.
Just make me work today.
All right, so Mike, just tell them, I know that you're a human being. I know I don't want to put it in the position because we talked about this backstage, but being that you're in the position and from mental health, when was there a moment, right, that caused you to be very emotional while you're on a call, that you had to take charge, but you found yourself that you almost lost it? Let me ask you.
Well, this was at the height of all my struggles after my shooting, and I went to a medical call, and there was a young girl who basically was dying. And I remember two of my officers started going that way, and I immediately started going because I was a supervisor. And when I got in the house, I could see this young girl on the floor, and it looked just like my daughter. I mean, the same size, the same height, and all I could think about was my daughter. I transposed my daughter's face on this young girl, and the firefighters and paramedics were there, and they were working on this girl just endlessly trying to bring her back to life. And finally, they called it in front of me, and she was dead. And I lost it, man. Not only did this happen, but it turns out that the parents had gone on their first vacation in like 6 years, and the grandparents were here taking care of the young girl and her young brother who was there too and saw this whole thing. And I literally lost my shit, and I was so embarrassed and so upset because I'm like, damn, get your shit together. Like, do you not see this girl's grandparents are right there?
Mm-hmm.
And I literally I had to leave. I walked outside, and I literally just started yelling at myself, and I was pissed off, and I had to get back in it. And eventually I went back inside and I checked on my officers, but that touched me to the core.
Bro, that's what makes you human, man. I love that. That's what makes you human. And
so
I'm pretty sure the people that you were working with on that call, they saw that and they respected you even more. What about a good call, brother? What's a call that you went through and afterwards and you're just like, damn, we kicked ass today. That was so freaking amazing. We did some good shit today.
You know, the saddest thing when you ask me that is, and I got to be honest here, but
yeah, go ahead.
I can think of 1,000 horrible incidents and calls. And when you ask me about a good call, that's tough, man. It's tough because people call us on their worst day. They don't call us on their best day. And
Wow.
And I'm having a hard time even thinking of something like that, to be honest with you.
Well, you're human, Mike, and then this is what the show is all about, right? And so people focus on specific subjects, but when we're talking about real life scenarios, I mean, only you, looking in your eyes, you have seen so much trauma, dysfunctionality, domestic issues, injustice that we can relate, but the other people that want to pull the cancel culture don't understand. And now, as you know, you're up in Northern California, right? I'm down in Southern California, but you can look at the situation in California right now. And I can honestly tell you that things are going run abuck. I mean, they're just going crazy. Everybody's going buck wild because they started with the cancel. It took one bad law enforcement officer, nationwide and globally, to wipe out all the attaboys that the law enforcement community has done. Granted, we have some bad apples, but there's bad apples in every industry. It just took one person that made an iconic decision that will last a lifetime for many generations that have witnessed this. And there's nothing that we can actually do.
Do you think it was just one move or one decision that caused that?
No, it was.
Because I can tell you right now, I don't think it's just one. I think
it's the straw that brought the camel's back.
It's the straw that broke the camel's back.
That's what I'm getting
at. It's not one. All right.
No, it's the straw that is the final. When I need to, take back that this was the defining moment, the straw that broke the camel's back, that made the decision for everybody, because there's been a longevity of that. How do you see that, Mike?
I blame the media. I'm going to be honest with you, because the thing is, the media day in and day out, all they show is the negativity and the horribleness that happens. They also lead people to believe that officers are involved in shootings every single day. And I can tell you that most officers are never, ever involved in a single shooting in their entire career. That's a fact. But if you watch the news and you watch the media, you would think that officers are shooting somebody every single day. It just doesn't happen. It's not a reality. And I can also tell you that nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop. And 99.9% of cops are good, and they're doing the right things for the right reasons. And not only that, to be a cop, man, we're sacrificing everything. We're sacrificing our family. I'm leaving my kids at home when I'm out working graveyard shift at night. I'm missing the holidays. I'm out there sacrificing and giving things up every single day for complete strangers. Let's be real here. The people I meet on the job are complete strangers until I have to meet them. And I'm there to protect and to serve them. So when you talk about, the George Floyd incident, man, that makes me irate. You know what? I'm glad that guy's locked up, but here's the deal. That is a rarity. Mm-hmm. There are bad apples out there. Yes, there are. There are bad cops, and they have no business being here. They should be locked up. And any good cop would tell you the exact same. But what makes me angry is we forget about all the good cops out there that are doing the good work every single day.
Do you see a lot of cops, like a lot of your brothers? Do you see them kind of standing up against those the quote unquote bad cops? Because I know a lot of times I don't see it. I don't see it. It's almost like this. Okay, that's our brother. We're not going to say nothing. What do you think about that?
I worked for what's considered a medium-sized agency where we all knew each other. It wasn't like working for NYPD or LAPD. And so we all knew each other. We trained together. We worked together. And so I can tell you personally, I didn't experience that in my agency. But one thing I did experience was when I was undercover on a state drug task force. And it turns out that my boss, who worked for the State Department of Justice, he was the commander, he was stealing our dope and selling it on the side. And the thing was, thank God, DOJ brought in a team from Southern California and did a wiretap and surveillance on our entire narcotics team. And they realized that nobody else was involved. Nobody else knew about this. Because I can guarantee you the people I worked with, there would have been something done about it. Now, like I said, I can't speak for every agency or every department, but I can tell you full well at my agency, I didn't see that a single time where somebody deliberately crossed the line. Now, I have seen cases, And this happens, and people need to understand adrenaline. People need to understand when you're fighting for your life and you're in the moment. And I have had to pull people off other people, or I've seen people getting pulled off other people. And that's because they're so far into it and that adrenaline is rushing and they're fighting for their life and they don't see the big picture. So that's a reality. And people need to understand that. That's not an intentional thing. Sometimes it is, but what I've seen, it's they get caught up in the moment. And it's our duty, it's our job to pull them back and to intervene. That's what we have to do. If we see something wrong, we have to intervene immediately.
So,
I love
that. Let me ask you another question, Mike. You're working with Jennifer, Tracy, and my other partner, my best friend. I love the way she.
Wait a minute. Springer. I thought I was your best friend. What the hell?
There you go again. So Jennifer and Shauna, how did you guys collaborate? What are you guys doing?
Well, I'm actually working with Shauna Springer on my first book, and I believe it's Dr. Springer's fourth book. But Dr. Springer is an amazing woman, and she is the one that's making this dream of mine a reality. And I met her a couple years ago just because she reached out to me because of the work I'm doing in the field of PTSD, or what I like to call PTSI, and we got to know each other. And she asked me one time, she's like, hey, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I was like, you know what, to be honest with you, man, I was a good writer, but I am burnt out after 20 plus years of report writing. And so I can't do it. But if I could ever find somebody to help me write a book, man, I would be grateful forever. And months later, she approached me and she was like, hey, what do you think about this? And it was like, man, it was like this beam of sun came through my window and like the clouds opened up. And I was like, I had to check myself. I thought it was like a dream or something, to be honest with you. And so we're knee deep in it now. We're 80% done with this book. It's called Relentless Courage, Winning the Battle Against Frontline Trauma. And here's the beautiful thing about it. Oh, man, it took a lot of work and collaboration on that title. And we've changed it a few times, but now we got it. We got the cover. We got the title. It's 80% done. And the structure of the book is it's going to be about 13 or 14 chapters. Mm-hmm. Most of it is my story all the way back to childhood. And each chapter is broken up into two sections. The first section is told in my voice and what I went through. And then the second part of it, Doc Springer breaks it all down so that anybody can understand it. Anybody can comprehend it, to understand, why I'm reacting this way or why we're doing this over here, but on a global sense. So anybody in the military, any veteran, any first responder, their loved ones, family members, in fact, anybody on the street can pick this book up, and you know what they're going to see? They're going to see the human side of being a first responder. That's what they're going to see. They're going to see the struggles that we all go through, because my experience was not special and it wasn't unique. The facts are that first responders, cops, firefighters, paramedics, dispatchers, the suicide rates are off the chart.
Oh, yeah.
And we're much more likely to die by our own hands than anybody on the street. I mean, think about that. That's the real problem. That's the real epidemic. And I want to show people, I almost lost my life, but you can raise your hand up like I did if you can get the strength and courage. And there is help and there is hope. And I'm living a great life right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still working every single day. This is a process. There's no magic pill. I've been working at this for years and I still got more work to do. But no, there's life on the other side.
That's awesome. What kind of work do you do? Because me, myself, being a former fighter, and I have PTSD from that. And I know a couple other firefighters that have it and cops. Like, what do you do? What does wellness look like for you?
So I volunteer as a peer for the West Coast Post-Trauma Retreat. And I actually went through as a client back in May of 2017. And that program helped save my life. It's a phenomenal program open to all first responders. And it started out in California. Now they got them all over the U.S. But this is where I found out that I wasn't alone. I met other first responders who were opening up and sharing. And that's the strength, is that we got to open up and we got to share. So I go back to this program and I give back. I also went through Save a Warrior, which is another phenomenal program. And that program is for veterans, active military, and all first responders. And that program focuses on childhood trauma. And people don't want to hear this, but I'm going to tell you right now, people listening to this, a lot of people that go into the military or become first responders, they got some form of childhood trauma. That could be mild. It could be like an emotionally distant parent. It could be an alcoholic or addict parent, or it could be as extreme as being physically or sexually abused. You know, we don't choose this career by accident. It chooses us because we become natural caretakers at a young age. We learn to overcome adversity. But here's the whole problem, that I didn't learn this till 2 years of my recovery.
Wow.
You got this childhood trauma, and then you got the work-related trauma on top of it.
Right.
You got to work on both these separately. If you just work on the work trauma and you don't work on this childhood trauma, or vice versa, guess what? You're going to be stuck and you're not going to heal. And the fact is, this is a physical injury and you can be healed. You can get better. And so what I most importantly do is I go out there, I speak at conferences, I speak to the military, I do podcast interviews, I share my story, I share the mistakes I made because I made so many mistakes and I want people to learn from my mistakes. And more importantly, I learned how I got out of this, how I got better, and how I'm still working on that.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So I learned a lot as well because, you know, we're talking about childhood trauma. That's what brought me into it. I've had a lot of, I can call myself out. I had PTSD, childhood trauma, dysfunctional family. It caused me to be a certain way where Tony laughs as a tough guy. But at the same time, it's more or less like you had no choice at that time being a kid because, you know, growing up, man, kids can be mean. They don't think about it. You know, you're traumatized and you're constantly living, you're chasing that ghost like, I'm not that person anymore, but that thing is haunting me. That it's haunting me, it's chasing me, and you're dealing with those demons. And people don't understand that everybody has a threshold of pain or trauma that leaves you in a midst of second guessing yourself, proving yourself, or checking out and doing something to medicate yourself. Drug addiction, alcoholism, even suicide. Let me ask you another question. You meeting your wife, how did that change your perspective in life? And what does your family mean to today, especially what you're doing now?
Well, I'm divorced, so I don't know if we want to talk about that. But
that's okay. You got kids, right? You got kids, right?
No, but my daughter changed my life, and my daughter's why I'm here today, because when my best friend tried to kill himself, all I could think about was the effect that would have on my young daughter. And that's why I got help. And now today, I'm a better father than I ever have been. I'm present. I'm here. I'm not working overtime trying to escape the family. I'm here taking care of business. And I don't care about any title I ever had, any position I had. I'm going to tell you right now, the most important position I have is being a father, period. I don't care what you do. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care if you're the president of the United States. The most important job you have is being a parent and making a difference, maybe in just one person's life. That's what matters. And that's what I'm doing today.
Tony?
Oh, that's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. When you said that, I thought about being at the firehouse, and all everybody wanted to do was like work. And it's just like, damn, man, do y'all like going home? I was just going to ask you, how important is having a solid home life in what you do?
It's critical. I mean, our first responders, you know, I messed up. So like when I was married, I didn't talk to my wife about the job. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't share why I was pissed off in a bad mood. So our spouses, our partners, they think it's because of them. They don't realize we just had some shitty call that day and saw some kid die in front of us. Yeah. And so now we need some time to decompress. And you know what we do is we drown ourselves with alcohol, extramarital affairs, gambling addiction, porn addictions, whatever you name it. But we're not dealing with our families in our home. I can't tell you how many young officers work overtime, killing themselves, avoiding going home, right? Worried about their toys, worried about their next motorcycle or car. No, worry about your family. That's what you need to worry about. If you got a good family life, that's going to affect you in a positive way at work. Because if you're pissed off and you got problems at home, you're going to bring that to the job. And that's going to affect things. It's going to affect your decision-making. It could cost you your life. And so you got to work on things at home. You got to work on yourself as a person, but you got to work on things at home.
Good. Thank you, man. I'm glad you said that. You got any more questions, Hiram?
I look at it this way. I have a serious thing that people really don't understand. How do you sleep at night? And I'm sure you have nightmares. I'm sure you have issues. People don't understand that, you know, when you walk away from being on duty, there's that downtime. There's that quiet time. There's that drive time. There's like, I got to meet my daughter time. When does that happen to you when you're at a moment where everything is silent and the shit just hits you right in the face?
Well, I got to tell you, I have nightmares almost every single day still to this day. And I've been working on my recovery for years. I can't tell you the last time I had a full night's sleep. And that's something I'm still working on. You know, I can't get this guy's image out of my head, the guy that almost tried to kill me. The guy that had an identical twin brother who was sitting in the federal courtroom with me, feet behind me when I went through 2 weeks of a civil trial, that same exact face. You know, people don't realize that I took a life and I have to live with this for the rest of my life. This is not something that goes away. That image of that girl I talked about earlier, that's not going anywhere. Yeah. I'm stuck with that. I'm stuck with that memory. And it's a horrible memory. And you know what? There's just things that happen that you can't plan for. Perfect example. I was at the gym 2 days ago and a guy had a knife on his belt. And I immediately zoomed in on the knife. I focused in on it. I started getting anxious. I started sweating. I couldn't take my eyes off it because all I could think about was that knife that was coming at me when I almost got killed. And it's those little things that people, oh, some guy had a pocket knife. So what? Lots of people carry pocket knives.
Yeah, you're looking at it as a threat. Yeah.
It's a threat. It's a threat. So, Professor Mike, let me ask you. If you were...
hey, we're never going to let you live that down, man.
That's his call sign. I'm glad I made that. We had to make it. So, at this point in your life, if you were to talk to the younger Mike, what would you say to him?
I'd say a couple things. I'd say first and foremost, be your true self. Don't let the job change you because it changed me as a person. And it made me lose sight of humanity. It made me lose sight of the gray area. And all I saw was black and white. Man, and focused on your family. You only get one chance. You only get one opportunity. You know, how many little t-ball games and soccer games are you going to miss to work that overtime? How many vacations are you going to skip out on because you just don't feel like it? I can't tell you how many times I isolated and was antisocial and missed out on things. Man, you get one chance at this and life is short. And you got to live it to the fullest. Be present. I mean, literally be present. Enjoy what's around you. Enjoy your family, your loved ones. You know, the job, I learned this the hard way. Being a cop, I thought the department was family. It's not. It's a business. It's a job. I got a few fellow officers who are family, but the department, the agency is not family. They don't care about you like that. Your loved ones at home do. So put all your effort into that.
Oh, that's real talk, man. I'm glad you said that, man. Thank you for everything that you shared with us, man. I definitely take it to heart. I got one more question, and it's an important one, and that's, man, what's your legacy when it's all said and done? Professor Mike is gone. He's gone, right?
Yeah.
What do you want us to remember you by?
Being the best father I could be, period.
Damn. That's good stuff. That's good stuff, man. Thank you for being a guest. You got the name of your book, right? What can we get your book? You got any pre-orders or anything like that?
It's not out yet. Like I said, we're about 80% done, but the best way to keep up to date is two ways. A, connect with me on LinkedIn because I'm going to be posting updates on there all the time. And the second way is I run a Facebook page called First Responders First. And I also have an Instagram page with the same name. And there's going to be updates on that as well. We're in the works of actually developing a specific site for the book, but it's not finished yet. So for now, just hit me up on both those platforms and look for the updates.
All right. I'll be sure to post your contact information in the comments. What you got, Hiram?
Well, look, like I said, man, it was great to really meet one of my heroes on LinkedIn. I'm serious. I mean, there's quite a few people. And Professor Mike, that's his name. He's stuck with it, brother. No, out of love and common courtesy, I really appreciate the fact that you've been able to stand up And what stands out is your character, your deeds, not your words, of who you are. And I really appreciate the fact that we are able to collaborate. And this is the biggest thing. And I think to you, there's no sense of racism whatsoever, because in law enforcement, everybody is a victim. Everybody needs help.
Absolutely.
And it's humanity, correct?
Absolutely.
All right.
Beautifully said. What happened? I think I took you out too soon,
Oh,
man.
yo, man. No, you pulled the trigger.
Oh, man.
So-
you got anything? You got any closing words for us, brother?
Yeah.
Well, two things. On the lighter side, Hiram, man, your hair is on point, man. I'm gonna tell you right now, like you got on point. I always look at somebody's hair. Tony,
Pretty
I'm not gonna mention your hair, man, but you know your hair is not as on point.
I go see my barber, man. He takes care of me. I had to like regulate it when we go out there. I think this is the only trademark I got from pretty much.
Where's your wife at? I bet you she could tell us how many hours you spend in the freaking mirror.
No, I'm not I'm not high maintenance, man. I'm a knuckle dragger kind of guy. I'm just everything else. But seriously, I really appreciate Mike. I mean, I don't think this is going to be the last one. I think the next one will be probably bringing yourself, Shauna, and Jennifer. This is going to be a big collaboration with the LinkedIn version of the Mod Squad versus Lincoln Julie. You'll have two females on there, LinkedIn angels, whatever the case may be. But we want to be able to share that out there and really close that. And thank you, Mike. Really appreciate it.
All right, take care. Thank you, man. It was a pleasure.
All right.
That was good, man.
That was
Mike,
good.
Man. That was really good. That was really good, man.
That was good. There was a lot of comments on there. A lot. I mean, I saw him get emotional and got me emotional at the same time. You know. And what do you think about it?
No, I think there's a lot of education in there, especially the subject that we're talking about. Man, it's hard, man. It's hard making those calls. I mean, you and I have been there where we had to make life and death decision calls, and it's rough. It's rough because there's never a right answer. There's never a right answer when making those calls. But I'm so glad that he was candid. I definitely learned a lot, man. I was over here taking some good notes from him. I could see why you thought he would be a good guest. Look like we're still live. Next week we got Jennifer Tracy. Tell us about Jennifer Tracy, man.
Jennifer Tracy, man. Let me tell you, she's like Shauna Springer. She's a woman. She has a bestseller. She's a bestseller author. She's a life coach. She's a mental health advocate, helping to find yourself through grief and through PTSD and suicide. This woman has been able to collaborate with quite a few people like Mike and Shauna Springer and really touch home on a lot of things that I can tell you that she can bring so much value from a woman's perspective, and I learned that. And as a husband, I need to continue learning that, because we all have our issues. We all have our anger issues. There's things that need to control. There's things that trigger. So this is very therapeutic for myself as well, just for you to understand culpability, understanding, learning from other people that could bring value. And and I know is that when we're doing the show ourselves, we're bouncing off each other. But when we have high caliber people like that, it helps us sharpen our skills and open us from a different perspective that puts us in a humbling experience, because you think you got it going on, but people have another story. They just drop the mic on you.
Yeah, I looked a little bit at Jennifer Tracy's story, and I was just like, damn, dude, she's definitely gone through it. So that'll be our 4th episode. And I didn't talk to you about this, man, but I was thinking for our 15th episode, right? While we're live, you tell me what you think about this. I've been getting a lot of swag from a bunch of different companies, and some of the stuff, especially like the larges and the mediums and stuff like that. I can't fit that shit. You might can fit it. But what I want to do is I want to create something to where we're, maybe we can look down the road every 5 episodes, maybe every 15. We sent some care packages to are heroes that are deployed right now. I think we all say, it's Red Friday, but I want to do something for them. I know when I was deployed, when I would get stuff, I'll never forget, man. My sister sent me, I think it was like $50 worth of freaking like canned food or sardines or something like that. But dude, it was the shit. It was the shit. And I felt so much love. And what I want to do is figure out a way that we can send veterans care packages from Leaders Lead the podcast, and we can get some sponsors. I have this week got some stickers, got a whole bunch of gear from our friends over at Bunker Labs.
Oh yeah, here you go. Bust it out.
It's not way. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll send all of this stuff. We'll figure out a way to do a raffle and send all of this stuff to a lucky vet. And of course, we'll send them a Leaders Lead the podcast shirt and sweater and some food and all of that stuff. What are your thoughts, bro?
I think that's a great idea. Here's the other thing we're looking at. We talked about a couple of things backstage that the audience, if they're still watching, is important, right? Is this 15th episode? We're doing everything. We're reaching to a lot of other people. Think about this, Jacob Edwards. Remember we talked about the 9/11 anniversary, 20th anniversary, the golf tournament. We're talking about guys from Fallujah, people that served in Iraq. That scenario. Think about, we could do the care packages, but isn't it that by August 31st? Majority of the people are coming back from being in Afghanistan?
I don't think it was majority. I think they were bringing some back, but they can't just upheave everybody, right?
From what I was watching in the news, it's like one of the Air Force bases is ghost, and the Taliban took over the place.
That's the Air Force base.
We just had a guess, man. We're not going to kill you.
I ain't talk no shit. That it sound like you. Hey, sound like you're projecting. You want to talk shit about the Air Force? I know you.
No, I'm just telling you the truth.
They're still going to be deployed.
Okay.
We still got to support them. There's still going to be some folks that are still going to be supported. I actually got a nephew that's deployed right now, and he ain't coming back no time soon. So they're still there.
All right, we do that. I think that. That's going to be on our 15th episode. We're looking to do this big 20th anniversary of 9/11. That's the biggest thing that we're going to share with everyone as far as 9/11 anniversary. And we're going to be part of that one way or another. That's going to be huge. And that's going to bring a lot of things that's going to help people understand and reflect. And overall, man, I mean, you got a lot of things going as well as far as, hey, you're going to be out there, the new Les Brown on LinkedIn. I can see that pretty much.
Oh, get out of here, man. Ain't no new Les. Hey, Les Brown be doing this thing, man. You see him, man? He's on LinkedIn Live every single day almost, bro.
I tagged him today, bro. You know who I tagged? Him and Gary V.
Let's try to get Les Brown on the show, man. That'd be so cool.
We're calling out Les Brown and Gary V.
Gary V.
I tag and there's some lady named Shauna Spring Robinson. She was on some of these major networks, and she's the host of 90 Day Fiance. So it's like she does the big producing, but we ain't gonna talk about no 90 Day Fiance. But she has some pull. So
bro, I just got a message.
What?
I think you did it. Somebody said, ask Hiram to smile. He never smiles.
I'm smiling.
Fuck, man. Hey, you are serious, man. You're a serious guy.
I know that, man. I'm always serious.
You don't fuck around, huh?
I got that Steven Seagal smile.
Yeah? Let's see it. Let's see it. Try to smile.
I am smiling.
Like I'm taking a picture. Let's go. Say cheese.
Smiling.
Oh man, that's cool. I knew you had it, bro. I knew you had it.
Well, I can't help it. It's serious. It's just that for that person that made a comment, I appreciate it. It's just I've been personally gone through a lot the last 15 years.
Yeah.
So it's time to unwind. I mean, if you thought I didn't smile now, it was like try to talk to me, and it was like dead serious, like go, deer in the headlights kind of look.
No, I love that it's coming full circle, man. That you're figuring out how to enjoy life, because I know a lot of our brothers, man, it's so fucking rough, man. They get stuck in the rut. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah. I mean, people would look at me. Look, I'll use my example. People would look at me and say they wouldn't even talk to me because I wouldn't crack a smile. I said, why do I have a smile? I don't even owe you any money. And then they would just start laughing and says, well, you got a sense of humor. Because I do. I just have that serious reserve, don't smile.
Nothing wrong with that. There's Jennifer Tracy right here.
You're next. Don't worry about it. You're next. We're going to be putting it out there. So what do you think, man? What can, let me ask the viewers, what else can we do that can liven up this podcast between Tony and myself and Leaders Lead the Podcast? There are many podcasts, but we're always open to suggestions that can benefit us. Open to constructive criticism, serious face, but thick skin. So, we look at that.
No, that's cool, man. I love this. I love the suggestion part, man, because we can only get better, man. This is really good information. I love the engagement that we get whenever we get on, man. It's I can't even count the freaking comments, but yeah, man, it's pretty good. It was good seeing you. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in. It looked like we're getting ready to get kicked off of LinkedIn here.
So we're checking out. So it's good.
Yeah. All right, man. Until next time, hang around and I'll chat with you.